What is going on, everybody? I hope you're enjoying your Thursday morning. This is NYG JeffyT 3285, and I just want to go over a quick little preview of what I would like to see and what most New York Giants fans would probably like to see heading into tonight's preseason game against the New England Patriots. Now, we already know Brian Dable has stated that everybody is going to be playing in this game, which means the starters are going to be out there. And we all would like to see is, especially with this offense and how bad it's been for the past couple of years, we'd like to see this offense go out there and be able to not only operate in the 2-minute drill, but be able to put together decent sustained drives for at least those couple of series they might be out there. And I would even keep this offense for possibly 3 series because of how erratic they've right now looked at training camp. Now, we all know it's training camp. Things could change very quickly when you start the beginning of the season. You have vanilla playbook you're going by right now. You're not going to show your hand completely on what you're going to be doing during the season. But it would be nice for the New York Giants to at least comfort their fans knowing that they're able to put together a couple of nice sustained drives. Daniel Jones looks very solid throwing the ball. The offensive line comes together well. The wide receivers make the plays and the catches needed. Run good, crisp routes. The running game looks solid. You like to see some of these elements be able to be played, especially for the offensive side of the ball. And for the defense, you like to see a little bit of a pass rush coming in. You would like to see no coverage breakdowns in the back end of the defense, as well as you like to see the linebackers and the defensive linemen play discipline on the outside during running plays. This is what you'd like to see from the starters going forward in the first couple of drives that they're going to have. You're not expecting these guys to be out there a lot. I mean, it's not the second or third preseason game, so you'll probably see the starters out there for, I'd say, about 2, maybe 3 drives total before they yank them out and get the depth players in. Now, in terms of the depth players, this is where things get a little tricky. Because, yes, the New York Giants did make some nice signings during the offseason, but we're right now counting on a bunch of rookies, undrafted free agents, as well as a lot of project players that came from different organizations but haven't really showed something a lot in the NFL so far in their careers, and we're expecting these guys to come in and be depth pieces and potentially be guys that have to contribute if we lose any starters during the season due to injury. So we have to see how these depth players can go in there and play during the preseason and see if they have any potential to give us something just in case we lose some starters during the season. So I've got to look at, certain position groups, and a couple of them that I'm going to be looking at is the cornerback position. I want to see how some of these young players, as well as these veterans that we signed, see how they come in, see how well they play, how disciplined they are in their coverages. They don't let anybody get over the top of them. They stay in line, their coverage. They come up, and they can make the tackle when there's a key run on the outside or up the middle. I want to see how these cornerbacks, these backups can play, and some of the rookies that we have so far that we drafted or signed as undrafted free agents, as well as some rookies, as well as some guys we signed in free agency. Another position, the linebacker group. I have to say right now, I'm very, very concerned with the inside linebacking group right now going into the season with the New York Giants. It's a potential group that does have some high upside guys, but at the same time, very incomplete, very unproven, and I just want to see how some of these depth players can go in there because we're relying right now on a lot of unknowns at that linebacker position. Special teamers, rookies, undrafted free agents. We have to see how these guys can play in game formats, albeit preseason, but you want to see these guys go out there, stay disciplined in their gaps, not be able to allow big runs to happen up the middle, and make sure that whoever's playing the coverage end against the tight ends, or when a running back splits out towards the middle, that tight end is going to know exactly where he is. He's not going to be able to give up those big plays up the middle. So I want to see how some of these depth players do in that case. And, of course, the offensive line. The offensive line, as we all know as Giants fans, have been one of the biggest problem areas for this team going forward. And we have to see the starting offensive line might have something right now, but the depth is a major question, especially that we've suffered a couple of injuries to our depth players on this offensive line, and we're going to be relying a lot on journeyman players and a couple of rookies. So we have to see how these depth offensive linemen can go out there and play against opposing defensive lines and outside linebackers, and to make sure that these guys can hold up. Because if we lose some of our starters, especially our offensive tackles, it might be a little bit of a problem for our quarterback and our running back going into the NFL season. So those are a few positions I'm really looking at. A couple of positions I'm excited about in terms of the depth is definitely the running back room. I think the running back room is going to be a little bit of a surprise how much good depth we have there. I think the wide receiver group is one of the strongest we have in terms of our depth on the team. I think that we do have a good core of young wide receivers as well as some veterans we brought in that could get the job done just in case we lose some of our guys in the starting, some of our starting wide receivers are key contributors in terms of that. So I think I like the wide receiver depth. And I like the defensive line depth. I think we have some pretty good players that are hungry that might not be getting the type of first or even second team snaps, but I think if we put them in there, they could be good, solid run stoppers as well as pass rushers. So I really like the defensive line depth. Now, before I close it out, here's a couple of things that I would like to see, or a couple of players I'd like to see going into this first preseason game. One of them I want to see is Yusef Corker, the young safety out of Kentucky. I want to see what this kid can do, and I want to see the opportunities that he could take advantage of, because he's probably going to get a lot of playing time with the rookie Dane Belton, the third-round pick out of Iowa. He's not going to be playing right now after he fractured his clavicle, so I really want to see what Yusef Corker can do as a reserve safety and see if he can make an impact and possibly open some eyes for Brian Dable and Wink Martindale that this kid might have to be somebody that they had to keep on the roster. Another guy, as well as another safety, Trenton Thompson, who is probably a better coverage safety than I would say about Corker, because Corker is more of a safety that you could line up in the box. But I really want to see another, like what Trenton Thompson could do, because he's another guy that's going to be able to take advantage of the fact that Belton's not going to be out there because he's due to injury. So I really want to see what Trenton Thompson could put out there. And then, of course, some of these reserve wide receivers, like a Richie James, I want to see how he can do and his opportunities that he's going to have. A David Sills, an Alex Bachman, Colin Johnson, Keelan Doss, who's been lighting up, and, of course, Robert Foster's out, unfortunately. David Sills probably will not be playing in this game. But I also want to see a guy like Keelan Doss. I want to see what he can do. So that wide receiver room, there's a bunch of wide receivers I just mentioned that I would like to see out there and see what they can do and the opportunities they're going to have with probably Kenny Golladay and Kadarius Toney not playing much. And I think they're going to try to make sure that Wan'Dale Robinson doesn't get overexposed, even though I do expect the rookie second-round wide receiver to play at least close to a half during the preseason first game. And then, of course, I want to see the offensive line, the first offensive line. There's a couple of players on the offensive line I want to see. I want to see how the rookie Evan Neal looks in his first real game opportunity in the NFL. I want to see how he holds up against opposing competition, see what he could do against that Patriots defense, see what Belichick is going to be scheming against the young rookie. And, of course, I want to see if he's able to play because he is questionable right now due to injury. I want to see how our third-round pick, Josh Azudu, looks out there, too, because I want to see what that kid could do at the left guard position for the New York Giants and see how he's going to be able to hold up, as well as some of our other reserve offensive linemen, like Jameel Douglas. I want to see how Max Garcia looks out there. I want to see how Josh Rivas, the Kansas State rookie, I want to see how he looks out there. Will Holden, I want to see how he looks. Eric Smith. There's a bunch of these reserve offensive linemen. I want to see how they go out there and how they're going to perform in competition for the New York Giants against an opposing team. There's a bunch of players I'm curious to see. And, of course, the last couple I'm going to mention, Micah McFadden and Darian Beavers, our late-round picks at linebacker. We want to see how these guys perform in their first game opportunities at the linebacker position, because Blake Martinez, if he even plays, he's going to get very limited opportunities, and I believe the same so with Tay Crowder. So it's going to be a lot on Micah McFadden and Darian Beavers to see how these guys can do when their opportunities are available for the New York Giants at that inside linebacker position, because they bring such different skill sets, and I really want to see if these guys can be able to have the gap discipline when the running backs scheme out and they try to catch those underneath passes, or like I mentioned earlier in the video, if you have a tight end leak out and you see if these guys can be able to cover on the outside, because I really want to see what McFadden and Beavers can bring to this linebacker core. So that's just a couple of news and notes and things that I would like to see this New York Giants team go out there and show in this first preseason game against the New England Patriots. And I want to see mainly how the New York Giants first team offense looks out there, if they can string together a couple of nice drives just to give the fan base a little bit of confidence, albeit it is preseason, so you can't take everything, you have to take everything with a grain of salt and not get too alarmed either way. and I want to see how some of these young reserve players as well as these journeyman guys can do in their reserve roles, because they're going to get a lot of playing opportunity in the first game, and I want to see how they can look out there when they're given the opportunity, and probably playing at least maybe a half. Some of them could even be playing 3/4. So that's just all I have to say about that in terms of what I would like to see in this first preseason game. If you like the video, please hit the like button below. Subscribe if you haven't already to NYG JeffyT 3285 for more breaking news, updates, and chatter surrounding the New York Giants, Brooklyn Nets, New York Mets, WWE Wrestling, as well as food for thought. Turn on the bell for notifications on the next video or short that drops surrounding the New York Giants. And let me know in the comments section what you would like to see this New York Giants team do in this first preseason game, what players you're looking forward to seeing the most, and who and what your overall expectations are going for this New York Giants first preseason game for this team. Like, what do you want to see that'll give you a little bit of confidence heading into the season in this first preseason game? So I thank you very much, everybody. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your Thursday morning/afternoon. And we'll have to see how this first preseason goes for our beloved New York Giants. So everybody, take it easy. Have a great rest of your Thursday. We cannot wait. Football is back. Let's go, New York Football Giants. And always remember, when you represent the blue, just remember, we are together blue.